I'm a Brooklyn person, and I'm very happy where I am. I was born and raised here. I don't think there is any place else that I would really want to live, to be honest with you. We have family. My mom was born and raised on Martha's Vineyard, which now, of course, has become another perfect example of life, okay? So we had a summer home. I don't have it anymore. But we did have a summer home for years, so we spent a lot of time on the island. And I love it. We go back every year, we rent something. It's a place that I always felt like, wow, I think I could live here. But being an island, you can't just get in your car and drive off anytime you want. Boat, airplane. That's it. And now again, Martha's Vineyard, I have family there, okay? And my cousin was born and bred there, and now she's on a list waiting to get into affordable housing because she's older, she's my age, she's working, and it's amazing. Like, she had a home and then she got divorced or whatever, but she can't even get something affordable, and she was born and raised there, and that's awful. That's so sad to see that all these wealthy people who have come there and just bought up the island. So it's the same thing, really. We moved here in 1991. It wasn't really like people weren't friendly, they were to themselves. It was not so family oriented at all. Now it's like just children and family, and it's starting to feel to me what Park Slope felt like. I know everyone outside, and it was, I don't know if it was a high crime area, but it certainly was a high crime area compared to where I came from. I feel like, yes, it's been a great change for the better. It's definitely a safer place to live. It's a more comfortable, happier environment outside. But again, I'm seeing what I seen in Park Slope. People are being forced out because the rents have gone so high that the average normal family cannot live here. You have to be making quite a bit of money now to live in this area. Well, it's really been a lot better. A lot, the energy is definitely more positive now than it was then, because there were a lot of families, I guess, that was struggling, I don't know, to survive, and they kind of a lot of times just kept to themselves. So the positive energy, when people have problems, it's they have a whole different aura around them. And so in the first 10 years, it got a little bit better, and things were getting on the uprise a little bit. And then in the next 10 years, it was so much better. And then the last 10 years that we've been here, the quality of life has just, the energy is great. I mean, as far as the people, everybody's working and, taking care of their families and happy, and it is definitely a much better place to be. I had a neighbor down the block here, particular, I loved her. She was a much older woman, Helen, and she had a basement apartment there, and she had for years, and then they were going to sell the house. And so they were, saying, you have to leave, you have to leave. And I was, telling them, like, no, she doesn't have to leave. I said, Helen, eventually you're going to find something, but don't let anybody, like, get you out quickly. And she kind of disturbed us, so she did find something. And I tell you, she moved out, and she went out to, like, Bensonhurst. She was driving at the time in her 80s. With inside of a year, her life just, she was so depressed. And everything just changed for her. And she started getting, like, she didn't remember where she was. She would keep coming back here driving. And it was so sad to see what happened, because she was forced to move out of her apartment. She had all of us here. We would go. She fell one time and broke her arm. And, for months, I would bring her dinner every night. If I couldn't be home, I would call my daughter and ask her to go down the block. And I said, even if it's a ham sandwich, give it to her, give her water, make sure she's okay, and then, like, there she's out there and she doesn't have anybody, she doesn't know anybody. So it was, yeah, that really, when your roots are pulled out like that, you're, like, she lived before that, she had a house right here on 6th Avenue. And when her husband passed away, it belonged to him and his sister. So the sister sold the house. So she moved right up the block, which was very nice. But then that was taken. And if you really pay close attention, quality of life, it's what you're happy with where you are. And when you're uprooted from that, your life isn't the same ever again. I know the two sides very well because I was a landlord, then I was a renter, and then I was a landlord again. And to me, if I have a tenant, which I did when I lived on 3rd Street, and I'm able to pay my bills and I have my home and I'm happy, why do I want to put them in a position where they can't afford to live there? I don't need that. I just need to be able to keep the house up. But I think that people are very greedy, you know, and that does not make a better neighborhood. That really does not. Their idea of that is that, well, my children go to school with, children that come from very wealthy families, and the school gets tons of money from these families, okay? But I think your child needs to see both sides of the world too. So there, that's a very mixed emotion. It really is. Like the neighborhood, yeah, again, it's a very nice neighborhood. Very happy that I live here, but I don't want to see other people uprooted, because they can't afford to. So the greedy owners, property owners, start to shove people out. The problem is that, people are never willing to give up what they have to help others. There are a few people. There are a handful of people that'll help. But the majority of people at the end of the day, it's all about them. So how do you get somebody to say, well, I have this land, or I have this old building here, and I could fix it up, and I could move, 4 families in here that could afford it. I know if I had money and I could do something like that, I really believe I would do it. I really do. Because it makes you feel good at the end of the day. But most people don't want to do that. They want to fix it up, give it to their kids, fix it up, rent it out for, tons and tons of money so they get richer. I don't know why. I don't know why money is so important to everybody. I love New York. I think New York is the melting pot of the world. I think everybody has come here. And on an average, we all do get along. It's not about color, it's not about race, it's not about religion. Almost everyone I meet, I feel like people are just, it's like, wow, you're from New York, even when we're on vacation. Oh, I knew right away you were from New York because you're friendly and you smile and you're happy. And I think there's a lot to be offered here. If you're a go-getter, I think you could do just about anything you want in New York, except, again, the price of living in New York. They're outpriced. So they're going to go somewhere they could afford to be, and that's wonderful. But on the other hand, if they could afford to live in a nice place where they at least felt safe, okay? Because listen, let's face it, no matter what you say or no matter what I say, am I willing to move into a building that has no locks on the front doors, all kinds of people sitting in the hallway, doing drugs, whatever? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm going to be honest about that. No, I am absolutely not willing to do that. And neither would they be. So this is what a lot of the problem is. And then when you do start to move into those areas and try to help people and fix them, people get angry. They get angry. They say, oh, they're coming in here to take over this neighborhood. It's like you're in a catch-22, but New York, as far as I'm concerned, I do think there's a lot of opportunity here for everybody. I think it's a good place to live. 10 years ago, well, no, maybe even 15 years ago, all these kids were still 15, and they're playing football. And, they've been doing this for years. Great. My son's doing climbing trees, throwing the ball. Okay, sometimes it hits someone's car. I totally understand that. But they would say things like, damn, these people came in here and now they're trying to take over. It's 8:30 on a summer night and they're like, shh, shh, and it's true. And I would feel that way. I'd be like, listen, they don't do anything wrong. They're playing ball. Turn on, we call it the Johnny pump, the fire hydrant.
Johnny Pump. The term Johnny Pump is a nickname for fire hydrants that originated in Lower Manhattan and Brooklyn vernacular.
go cut out.
Turn on the Johnny pump. We did it all the time. Put out cones. Let everybody get wet. Have a good time. People are like, oh my God. Like, looking at them like, what is your problem? You know, like, where did you come from? You never got wet in the Johnny pump? Like, really? You know? And so I do see both sides of it. I think people sometimes come in with a little bit too much of an idea that it has to be their way, you know, and you can't do that. That's unfair to the people that have lived here before because they catch this big attitude like, I don't care that, you know, at the time I'm paying 1,000 and you're paying 15. Well, you're the fool. You know what I mean? Like was like what was happening for a while, and people are like, I've been here a very long time, and no, I'm not going to change my ways. And I think little by little they kind of accepted each other. It was like, okay, you know, like let's make a deal. You know, like by 9:30 at night on a weeknight, you know, you guys do have to quiet down. You know, 15 years ago, no, it was all kids here, all kids. And they were outside and they were yelling and talking and making all kinds of noise. And maybe you have to tone it down a little bit to respect. But on the other hand, they also have to respect you. And if you can get that balance, you're very lucky, you know, but it's not an easy thing to do. You have to work at it. A lot of the young people that were here first, because they really feel like you're coming in here and shoving us, you know, and we don't like it and we're not going to have it. And so they be that, you know, but then they come to terms with it usually. You're always going to have a few that don't. You know, we had a guy next door, he finally moved out. He was like, oh, he was retarded. They had a baby and he had a basement apartment. Chooses to put the baby in the front room with no air conditioning. Now, we're a pretty normal family. I mean, we'd sit on the stoop till 9 o'clock laughing or whatever, but not at midnight. And this guy would come outside at like 9 o'clock and he's like, everybody has to be quiet. My kid has to sleep. And I could feel the tension because I knew somebody was going to like flip on him, you know. And then finally, one night I spoke to his wife and I said, listen, did you ever think about putting air conditioning in your window? You can't expect people to stop sitting outside because you had a baby. I had 5 of them. People sit outside all the time. It's the summertime. This is New York City. If you want that, go to the suburbs where there's nobody next door to you. You know what I mean? Like, you picked the wrong place to live, you know? You can't be unrealistic. You know, if you want absolute quiet and certain things you want, you really have to look into that when you're going to choose your place to live. You can't live on top of people, and especially when there's all these kids on a block. Like this block was like a school practically, you know, and we were all family, so everybody's outside. Yeah, well, if we weren't family, we were. After 10 years of our kids hanging out together, you know. So yeah, I do think they're wrong in a lot of ways. I think they have to understand that. Your rent doesn't give you the right, you know, to demand because I pay X amount of dollars for this apartment. No, it doesn't work like that. There has to be a better cap put on the rents, whatever. That definitely has to be done because it's just getting out of hand. It's so out of hand. And it is making young people with going to get settled down or have children say, I can't afford to live here anymore. You know, so you that whole new generation, you're going to shove them out of the city. And what are you going to have left? You know, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's got to stop somewhere. I don't see that ever changing in New York. New York is a very, very wealthy city. We have all the wealth and we have all the poor. And then the rest of us that are here, we struggle to stay in that lane, and it's like, you know, because we're the ones, our tax money is being taken, where it should be coming a lot more from the very rich, as we all know. That's it. It's the way it is, you know. It's tough, right? It's a tough world we live in.